guys? It's Roger, PRW Chassis, Performance Center Racing Warehouse. Hope you're having a great day. Bringing you episode 16 of The Grind. 16 already. This showcases one of my buddies. His name is Weeder. For those of you who don't know him, he's been a tire specialist in the super late model world for a long, long time. He's done a lot of top teams, won about every race there is to win, and I wanted to introduce him kind of to the late model stock car community. Think he can bring you a ton of value. Maybe it's something you can reach out to him from time to time. He gives his number through here, says text him, whatever you can do. Great book of knowledge, great notebook on tires over the last few years. I think it could be another great resource we're trying to bring to you. Man, the shop, as you can see behind us, new one going out, 81, it's in here a lot. A couple other cars, got 2 more we're clipping this week. So very blessed to have all this great work. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope your families are staying safe. Let us know if we can ever be helpful. Thanks. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Grind here at Performance Center. We got Zach Wyatt, where you can't see him. He works off camera doing all kind of great stuff for us. Special guest, man. I've been trying to get this guy for a long time. He's so busy. He's really hard to come across. But he called me this morning. It worked out perfect. We were able to make a date, and we were able to get the legendary Weeder in here, a tire guru. I'm sure everybody's seen him somewhere at their track, whether it be late model stock, modified. I mean, the guy just does super late model in the north, in the south. It doesn't matter. He's pretty much around everywhere. Thanks for making it in, bud.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
We've tried a couple times, right?
I thought the day after Winchester, I thought I was going to make it, and Alex drove me home with Contour, and we didn't make it, but this morning, I said, we're going to do this.
Perfect, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you making the journey up. This is a guy that I think a lot of people. I know when I did Tyler Ankram's deal with the super deal. You know, one of the first people that we called to take care of all our tire stuff was Weeder. He's been a staple in the sport, especially you guys in the super late model world. He's been around that quite a bit, and I want to get to know those guys even better. Weeder and I have a great relationship, but I want you to get to know these guys even better. He's got a great brand. For those of you that don't know, he goes around to different racetracks, and he basically helps people with tire management. He helps them with what sets to run, how to match their sets up. You know, there's a lot of people that don't exactly know what to do with tires. So I applaud him from 2 sides of the spectrum. Number one, he's been able to build a brand and a great business based off of something that a lot of people probably wouldn't do. He was just really good at it, took the ball and ran with it. So as an entrepreneur, I love that. And secondly, like, he wins. We wouldn't have him on here if he didn't win, right? We see him on Facebook Snowball Derbies, Winchester, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's not a race that I don't turn on in the weekend and see WeederNation with the win there. So give us some of the juice, man. Give us some of let's get into a couple different things. Let's get into number one. What let you know, man, I got something here. Like, I can do this, and this is going to be a business, and we're going to go.
I have to go back to the late Robert Hamke.
Yeah.
I come down here in 99 and struggled. 2003, started doing a little bit with Robert and Kenny West. And then 2006, he got to deal with Ryan Lawler. And that was the beginning of slow wait. Then when that deal was over, I got involved with Kyle Busch. Kyle ended up bringing Alex Haas on, and I ended up doing that deal. And then working with Brian Eichler and some others, and 2008 to 2011, I was contemplating a little bit. Then in 2012, I started to do more and more. I did the Andy Santier had the
Drive for Development.
Tribe for Development,
I
and I
remember.
did Kenzie Ruston, and those two were, and then that ball started rolling, and then the last few years with Donnie Wilson, Pat Jett, Harrison Burton, all those people have realized that it wasn't about me going with one car. If I had 4 to 6 cars a weekend, we learned a lot more,
Right.
and that was the thing, and when I first started, like the first year I worked with Jeff and Harrison and Wimmer and all them, Jeff says,
Talking about Jeff Foltz, right?
no, Jeff Burton.
Oh.
He goes, how's
yeah,
this?
I'm sorry. I didn't
Yeah.
understand what- yeah.
How's this going to work? Well, then after the first few races, he goes, wow, how do you keep everything straight? I said, it's God-given,
Right,
I mean,
sure.
I can do many things at once, and that's like, they were giving me a hard time at Nashville because I actually took a notebook in. Jeff Freeman from Who's Your South says, you don't bring a notebook in. I said, well, we got 11 of them today, buddy.
Right.
I want to make sure it's right. And he goes, afterwards, he goes, I don't think you looked at the notebook twice. I said, it was in there if I needed it.
Yeah, so you had it as a backup. So how many, on your regular basis now, based on where you're at now in the current business, how many cars a weekend you do? I know it depends upon big races and how many
Right.
people are there and what.
And the less of, like I went to Caraway and helped Mark Reedy on last Friday because he was the only one there. But normally 6 to 10 cars a weekend.
Wow.
And when we were at Nashville, we had 11 supers and 5 pros.
And there's a lot that goes into that, right? Like, tell people, I mean,
We did 232 tires at Nashville, and I had Josh Van Winkle and Matt help me, Matt Wilbert. And Matt has come on board with us for like 4 races now, and in those 4 weekends, we've had 6 races and won 4 of them with 10 podiums and 17 top 5s, and all he does is do good work.
That's
And
it.
he goes, this is easy. I go, it ain't easy, bud. He goes, yeah, it is. Everybody else. I said, you work.
Right.
He goes, yeah, but that's what we're here for.
Right.
And he goes, it's so cool that you just keep working and you tell me what to do and we work it out. And I said, I'm pumped for the Snowball Derby. We got around 20 cars. We had 21 last year, but I got 5 guys coming back, and we've added on a couple more, and we're dealing with the border issue because of our buddy Taylor Holdaway gonna have to quarantine 14 days, and the wife says he ain't doing that.
There you go. There
And
you
we got
go.
another guy that's waiting to see if he has to have surgery, but we're gonna make it all work. And I will be leaving Wednesday to go to the Governor's Cup, and I will leave right from the Governor's Cup the following Wednesday to go to the Derby. We start testing on that Thursday, the 19th, and test all but Thanksgiving and the Tuesday before.
I mean, it's a 12-month deal going. You're doing it.
Yeah,
You're doing it.
but it's not a job when you love what you do.
Right. I see you some mornings you're on the beach walking, right? Live streaming. I like that. I see you doing
Oh.
all kind of cool stuff, right?
Yes, and that's like we won at Bristol. Matt Wilbert and Dalton Myers helped me there. Dalton and I left at 12:30 that night, drove all night to Maine, and played a golf tournament on Monday. And I drove back Monday night because we had to be at Citrus the following weekend, and that was a makeup. And when I looked at flights, it's $1,500. I said, Dalton, I'll give you an extra $100. Help me drive. We got this.
We're in it. Yeah.
And I'll tell you a quick story. We get up there, we get down to the 8th hole. That's where we're going to start. Dalton, my best friend Mark Holt, and the pro that taught me, Rick Carlton. They're in front of us. It's foggy, and there's dew on the ground. The guys in front of us get sideways, and Dalton hits the brake.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. We speed up 100 miles an hour, and I almost slam into him. And I lost my phone off the thing, go on Facebook Live. And everybody says, you turned around and you drove back. Well, you know something? At the turn, we were leading the tournament, and we didn't do nothing afterwards. We were 7 under leading the tournament, but we had fun.
Yeah, that's it.
And Dalton says to me, why'd you bring me? The other 2 are great. I said, you're one of my guys.
Yeah.
We had fun today.
Yeah, that's it.
People don't understand that. It's about having fun. That's like I have the WeederNation golf tournament on Tuesday before the tournament, before the Derby.
Derby.
Anybody can come play. We're there to have fun.
it.
That's what it's about. I'm
That's
pretty
awesome.
sure there'll be a beer or two.
There will be a beer or two consumed, right? Like that's just part of the game. You've been kind of labeled as one of the gurus of the deal, and what I find it interesting getting a chance to work with you as many times is what makes your program so special? What makes you win so many of the races, right? Like some people could say, oh, it's just sheer numbers because you do that many cars and you don't, but there's truly a difference in consistency. I mean, we saw it when we did it with Tyler Ankrum. We've
Right.
seen it throughout the deal. What would you say? I mean, there's a reason that many big name guys keep hiring you. Right. So, what makes you what it is, right?
The biggest
People
thing
have been
is,
watching you at the racetrack for years and they can't duplicate it. So
right.
what is it?
But the biggest thing now is that I go to this year's different, but most years I go to the racetrack 46 to 50 times a year, weekends. Normal year, we test 100 days.
Sure.
Private test 100 days all over the country. Yeah. I mean, I see more tires in a weekend than most people see all year.
Right.
And that's what makes, and I have so many resources now. Nobody understands that. That's what, I mean, we've been having problems with tires slipping and stuff with the supers, and at Nashville, we marked wheels for Hoosier, and we've been talking on the phone with them and Bassett Wheel and everybody else, and everybody says, why are you trying so hard? I said, they're blowing on harder, takes 40 or 50 pounds to get them on the wheel, and then they're slipping. Well, there's a brittle factor, a density and a brittle factor that's allowing all that to happen.
Sure.
We got to get them to figure out what they can do better. And growing up in the North, I explained it to them like this. I said, think about this. All of us didn't have no money, so we all poured our own garage floors.
That's it.
The first 20 feet of the garage floor, you leave it rough because it's going to be icy in the wintertime. You got to do the same thing with the bead. It's got to have something to tack up and hold. If it's completely smooth.
Yeah.
And everybody says, well, how'd you think of that? I said, well, it's pretty easy. I said, I don't know how to do their job. They got to do it.
Right.
I mean,
you do
but
you.
and I was negligent because I didn't realize the guys are blowing up the tires most of the time. I didn't realize they're going on so much harder. But it's colder now, so when it's 90 degrees outside, they just pop on.
What's the biggest problem that you see, right? So you come into a deal. I hire you, my son, let's say my son's going to race, and I call Weeder, and I'm like, Weeder, I need you to take care of my tires this week. What do you, as a guy's been around this game, we were just talking about how long a while ago, we won't go into that, as guys that have been around this game for quite a while, what's the number one thing you see the family-run race team do wrong?
We have to do what's right for us. We can't listen to everybody off the street. We can't say,
Great
well,
advice.
I've always done this. We have to get a game plan, and we have to make it work. And prime example, Brandon Ernest. I've worked a lot with him. He goes down in the corner and looks at the corner, what the car's doing, and he builds a shock for your car. We have to do the same thing. We have to take the information and learn to adjust your car, change the cambers, staggers, all that for what you have for a program. We can't do, well, this guy said. We just have to stop at square one and work together to get where we need to be.
And I see that too in here. You're 100% right. That makes me so happy for you to say that, because that is truly the case, right? Just because one of my customers has their points at a certain place, then all my customers believe they should be at that place, and they just don't. If you don't know how to work with what you're using, just because you have one piece just because we're putting them on at 60 pounds doesn't mean that the rest of the processes are the same. So you kind of have to work what works the best for you.
We were at Nashville, and one of my accounts says, what are the other rowdy cars doing? And I said, you're not there. He goes, you didn't tell me that. I said, we've been winning everything in the country, bud, running the top 3 every
Right.
week. I'm not putting something into your head.
Right, it's not what it is.
When we struggle, we will get better. We'll work at it. But I'm
Sure.
not going to put something into your head to get you thinking outside the
But
box.
that also makes, I know for me in the past, I shouldn't say for you, this is a great question, I guess, to ask you. For me, when I have, over the last 11 years, found terrible heartache in when you tell a customer that he's not ready for that. I've lost some really great friends. I really have. I've lost some really great friends by telling them that, listen, you just need to stay on your own path. Your path works really well. Let's not try to duplicate what they're doing. Do you not? Isn't that's a hard thing as a
Whew.
businessman and as someone that wants some. You just care more about them than you do about their money,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
you try to give them your honest opinion. And how do you juggle with that? Because I know the dad, he thinks, or the gentleman, he thinks, well, Weeder's not giving me all the information that he's supposed to. If I'm not going to get all the information, I'm going to pay somebody else. But it's not really like that. It doesn't work that way.
No, you get 110%, but we have to do what's right for you.
Right.
I can say a few weeks ago, I went and dropped some used tires off to Cold Tim's dad out to Murray
Sure.
in the morning.
Great guy.
And I said, here, take these and test on them to go to Florence, no big deal. And he goes, hey, everybody up there, we're at in front of the 48 shop, they're all waving and flipping me off and whatever. And I'm laughing, and he goes, well, my wife already got them. What? Because she says, hey, when we're at Bristol, Weeder grabs the guy that's setting the air pressure. He goes, you do exactly like I say here, because we're not going to hurt or kill that kid.
Right, for sure.
And that's the way it is. And I've been at the racetrack, and Daniel Hamrick won that night, but I wouldn't set the air pressure where the crew chief won it because I didn't believe in it.
Sure.
And the crew chief, and they won. Happy for them, but I'm not going to do anything to hurt anybody.
I'm sure, like all of us, right? The spectrums of customer bases that we have in this business are trending more toward customers that want individualized service or think that they want individualized service, and people are building foundations of information. That's essentially what Performance Center has, right? Like
Right.
we spend a lot of this COVID time really, instead of closing up, really working on our product, and I think our product really kind of showed much better post the COVID. How do you control or try to control the parent that's just come into the deal? They know they need your service. They know they need whatever. What advice do you give to that dad that he wants little Billy to win? He's seen little Billy run in late models and in quarter midgets and in go-karts before that, and he even won a bicycle race back in a training wheel, right? Like you've
Right.
heard all the games.
Oh.
And you've got to work with some of the best that there is in super racing, some of the best there is in any forms of racing, actually, all across the board. What advice do you give to dads? Because those seem to be the largest amount of our customer base now, right? Like we have gentlemen that own race cars, but not as nearly as many. Most of the gentlemen that own race cars are a father, a family, a Jeff Burton,
Right.
Rick Ankrum, right? Wilson, he's got hundreds of cars, right?
Right.
So tons of stuff. What do you give the dad? The dad doesn't have a lot of information. So how do you help him understand or become okay with, here, this is kind of where you need to start. And once you get to that point, then you come back here and I'll give you a little more.
It's tough, but the biggest thing is you have to get them to understand that you need help, you want help, believe in me, and we will work together, would make the system work, you know? The first day that I worked with Jeff Burton, we went to do a mock run down to Cordele for the Speed Fest, and he goes, we don't qualify that low. I said, we will try this, and then if it doesn't work, we will move on. He went out and ran 3/10 quicker than anybody that day, and he stepped it out off 2, and Jeff looked at me and goes, I guess we run low air pressure. And later on, he goes, how'd you know that? I said, we started running this F40 back in the day with Blaney and KBM, and I got to test with them every day of the week, it felt like.
Right.
And I said, that notebook is so hard, it's so large, nobody understands that. He goes, okay. And that point on, I could do whatever I wanted with that deal, and it wasn't about me, because we always talked every weekend, what's the format this week, and what do we want to do? We're gonna, and I stopped him from doing 3 mock runs on Saturday, or the day of qualifying. We'd do one each day before that, at the time that we're gonna qualify,
See
and
what you
then
got.
use those tires when they're cold, and not have to worry about letting the air out of them and everything else.
How do you, as you can tell, Weeder's much like me. we get a little high strung from time to time.
A little.
How do you? I know you like to golf. I know you like to kind of cruise around at the beach in the mornings. I'd catch you. We're both up early, so I'd catch you out walking around on the beach or doing something crazy. What else do you like to do? I mean, you just work. I know you work a lot, and I know that's part of how you're as good as you are, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what it takes, hard work over everything. But what else do you like to do?
I haven't been able to hunt in 5 years.
Right.
It's kind.
I gave that up too. Like you can't get there. You
No,
can't get
because
there.
November and December.
That's it. You can't get there. That's it.
The last time I went on a hunting trip, we left Governor's Cup, I think 4 years ago now, and we went over to Okeechobee Lake with Dalton Sargent and a bunch of them, and got on. He had a swamp buggy with
nice.
a 454,
Yeah.
and it was an old SUV. And the first day, they got a couple of deer, but the buggy I was on, we didn't get nothing. The second day, he goes, well, it's almost over. We got to take people to the airport. And it was 10 o'clock in the morning. About that time, you heard the pigs over here on my right. I turned, fired, and it squealed. You got him, Weeder, Dalton screaming. Hit two more right there and handed it to him, and he loaded it back up, and a fourth one come across, and I hit that. And they're all freaking out. And they go, I thought you couldn't shoot. I said, well, I got lucky. And they go, yesterday, when we were all sighting at rifles, you had Dalton shoot yours. I said, yeah, I made a couple of shots. I thought it was okay, but shooting paper, I struggle. You put game out in front of me.
Right.
I just pull up, take a deep breath, squeeze the trigger,
Right.
and it's down.
No
I
big
mean,
deal.
I've been shooting since I was 6 years old.
You just know it works for you. That's awesome.
And that's the way. And I mean, yeah, but a lot of people don't understand it. I play golf, I walk the beach, and now I've gotten a lot better at, like, I'm going to leave Wednesday, go to take care of stuff at Pat Jet's on Thursday. Next Monday, get rid of a bunch of tires from my accounts in Florida. Monday afternoon and Tuesday, I'll play golf, walk the beach, and Wednesday, I'll drive over to Pensacola. You have to have a little downtime.
For sure.
And I've learned to do that slowly.
Yep.
And everybody says, well, why do you go Facebook Live? Because you know something? There's a lot of people that never get a chance to be there.
That's it.
If they want to get in there and say hi to me, laugh at me, I don't care.
Yeah, right. It's a good time to
Call
communicate.
me a jerk because I'm on the beach.
It's okay.
You know what? I won't say nothing to you when I'm up at 4:30 in the morning or still working at 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's it.
That's how and everybody says, well, you play a lot of, I don't play a lot of golf. You just notice the days I do.
Right.
But that 3 hours of golf, it's only 3 hours of the day.
Right.
You know that.
Right.
Last night I was dismounting tires at Cody Connors at 8:30 last night.
Right. I don't think people understand how much actual work you do, and I think it gets overshadowed a little bit by just the stuff at the racetrack. I mean, you used to bring these sets of tires up here. You know, amount of our sets were all ready to go testing, to go whatever. Even the times that you didn't go with me testing, you still got all of our stuff around, and it was well done.
It's 24/7, and that's like a couple weekends ago we were headed to the racetrack and at Nashville, and Dan Leake texted me and asked me questions, and he was leading the race that day with American Race he never raced on, and he got taken out, you know, a racing incident, and he says, how do you do that? He says, just over the phone, you text it. I said, wow. So we've won probably 15 races on American Races with Derek Griffith and George Gorham and all over the country. And he goes, you what? I go, yeah. I said, I've lost count how many wins we got this year. And I said, that's irrelevant. We just got to keep working and make people happy. They want them to be a part of us.
That's awesome.
You know,
I mean,
that's
great.
like, I could throw this name out, Troy Smith, who works with Donnie Wilson. He'll always talk crap to me and said, hey, Weeder, you're a jerk. Yeah. He goes, we love you. It's all that matters.
That's it, right?
He goes, just come do your job. He goes, because we know you're going to do the best you can do.
Right. I mean, I appreciate that, definitely, for sure. I never had any problems with any of it that we did, right? Like, I think the biggest problem was so many people wanted your input on things that sometimes is the only hang-up. But
And that's why the guys have come more important, because the guys can blow up all the stuff, get it ready for me, and I double-check it.
Right.
I still have the final say. And I'm out with all the customers walking around, looking at the cameras, looking at the air pressures, knowing where they're at.
Yeah,
And that's really made us come to the next level. And I'm telling you, I get told in Nashville, Matt's going to be able to work with me all next year. And I've told them, I said, be ready. We're going to make this happen.
You know, something I find interesting about your brand that I always found interesting about it was, you know, the people on the bottom of the brand, meaning the people that hadn't have won as many races, the not the dominant racers of the deal. They seem to always be worried about you giving their information away. Yet the guys that actually curate their own information at the top, this was something big on.
Yes.
When you first came and we first started doing things together years ago, I thought, man, you know, I hear these dads tell me, I said, Weeder still meant, oh my gosh, I don't know why you would do that. He gives all your stuff to somebody else. I said, wait, you're apparently not watching. What do you mean? I'm like, you're not watching. Like, what you're not watching is the guy that actually is acquiring the information, he wants Weeder to do it too. So do you have any secret sauce in that 2-bay garage that the guy that's spending 1.5 million has? I don't think so, right? Like,
yeah.
and if he's good with doing it with him, and they're all running better together, then I definitely think that that's an asset.
A few years at the Derby, Mike Haynes, who we call him Moon Pie, he works for Hoosier driving the truck. He does the ACA stuff. He come down and changed tires out for Jeff Freeman, and I changed out 2 tires for a guy that probably wasn't going to make the race, and I couldn't get it where I wanted. And I said, guys, we got to get this. And finally, Dalton Myers, we got it. They did make the race, you know. And Mike says that guy was not a shoe-in for this race. He was probably going home, and you worked and worked, and you ran down pit road, set his air pressure. One of the last guys qualifying, he gets in. He goes, that day made me realize it doesn't matter if you're number 1 or number 20 on the list.
Right, we got to get it done.
Got to get it done. And that's what you hire me for.
Do you get a lot of people that hire you just for a race, or just for, they think that I'm going to get him and we're going to get all this magic secret sauce that I get this sometimes for me, right? Like, and this is where it becomes painful, is we're going to go and we're going to buy one component of what he's got, or we're going to get him to come with us for one weekend. And now, oh, that guy's an idiot. Well, okay, I've been called way worse and way better, by a lot better and worse, right? Like, so my problem is, how do you keep people, how do you teach people the importance of this, right? Because those people think, well, I'm going to get his Nashville information. Well, it's not just about the Nashville information. It's the processes that are behind it. It's how things are done. It's when the air is put in, when the air is put out. It's, you know, off air we talked a little bit about date codes and other things, but it's all there's so many variables that go into it, right? And even you can't take out all the variables. You might just get a bad tire. You might just get something, right? Like there's so many things. So what processes have you really put in place that you think, man, that's really a difference maker?
It's about the people, because they can adjust. Like Matt, I'll tell you, Matt made an adjustment at Nashville. We had a way we were blowing him up. He changed it, and it worked better. And he asked me afterwards, he goes, you mad at me? I said, no, you made it better. And we have to be able to do that, move on the fly and keep doing things right. The biggest thing is what people don't understand is, yes, we have a system that we do things. But tires change every week. I mean, we get new lefts one week, new rights the next week. You've got to put a tape measure on there and understand what we're going to do to make that right. Just like some weeks, you want 2 1/4. You want 2 inches in the front, I'll get you 2 1/4. We're buying one set of practice, one set of race. Set that bar, and let's go.
How much does that play in? Because that plays into my game. I'm going to give you that right now. Does the problem become that they don't tell you that they want 2 inches in the front, that they say, hey, Weeder, what do I want? But I don't know the rest of what you have. This is the only place I see where I could have trouble doing Weeder's job. There's 800 variables, and you want me, I do the tires, which is its own separate entity of variables in its own self, right? Like, when they came, how long they sat in the truck, where they were at in the truck, like how long were they mounted, all these things, but yet then you don't have your right front bump stop correct. I'm just using that as a singular example. Right. Or you got 4% too much wedge in this thing, or how do you convey that gap where just sticking to the tire portion of the deal? Because I can see how it'd be easy. you get to see a lot of information,
Oh,
right? Like I would see how it could be
yes.
easy, but you have done a great job with kind of just staying to your game. How does that work?
I can say this: a few years ago, I was walking by the 26 car, and one of the guys went to slam the hood, and Bubba says, "Don't slam the hood. He doesn't care what's under there.
Right, right,
That's not his deal. His
right,
deal is tires."
right.
And I go, "Thank you.
And I respect
Appreciate
that,
that."
right? Like I think a lot of people that wouldn't respect or know you personally would think, man, I don't want this guy to see whatever. And once again, it goes right back to if these guys that are beating you are like, man, I should pay him to do my tires, and I don't mind that he sees my ball joint angle because it's not his game anyway, right? I'm just using that.
Yeah,
Right?
no, it's
I think that more people should. I wish more people. Not that everybody's bad. Please don't think that. I'm not that guy. This is not those kind of shows. But I just want people to understand for Weeder is a perfect example of why he should come on the grind. That he works his guts out. It's about all the little things.
right. That's some people will get offended when I pop the hood to look at my cameras on both front tires to make sure
Sure.
where I can't see.
Sure.
That's doing what we need.
Sure.
And you don't look. If you don't want me to look at my tires, then you don't need me.
Right.
I do not care what's under that hood.
Right.
99% of the time, I'm not even going to notice because I am looking at the tire.
Right.
You could have something under there that would stick out like a sore thumb, and I wouldn't even notice it because I'm not looking for that.
Do you think brands like you become more relevant? Do you think I've been waiting for it, right? Like some other guys, like another version of a young guy that's like, well, I can take on Weeder, or I've done this, or I've done that. Do you
I'm not going to name, but one guy's tried,
really?
and he's struggling,
Yeah.
and he goes, "How do you do it?" Well, it's hard work.
Right. But you're 10 years ahead, right? And I don't mean that you can give up, but it's just you're 10 years up. You've been working pretty hard. I have a gentleman back here that's been with me for a long time. He's been welding for 40 years. I don't have another gentleman in here that can beat him. But
Right.
his favorite saying is, I'm 40 years ahead of you. And I really think that he is. And as long as he works hard every day, he'll continue to be 40 years ahead.
And
right?
the biggest thing I can say in the last 2 or 3 years, I know a lot of people find this hard to believe, but I've come full circle as a person. I mean, I understand I have to have everybody in my circle.
Yes.
And I've learned not to use social media.
Weeder's taking a little break from social media.
Yeah, but I've learned that don't need that. I mean, I need all the people, and if we have a problem, we have to discuss it and work it out. You know, Brian from Bassett Wheels, if I have tires popping on hard, I'll show him pictures. I'll send him information.
Right. People like the data.
And I do this with a lot of different people and a lot of things so that we can get better with what we need to do.
You get an opportunity. I always think that you're such a good ambassador for the deal, just because you deal with people from the north, from the south, from the west, from Washington, like
Yeah.
everywhere. So, as a racer, each individual area kind of has their own standards of normalcy.
Yes, and what's crazy though is finally I got Derek throwing out west. Then I got the legend Garrett Evans. We have them, and they've adapted, and they go, "You're crazier than, but you make it work." I
That's
said,
it.
"Yeah, but I get to do it every day. You guys don't even race in the wintertime
Right.
in Washington."
That's
you know?
it. How much difference is there from that, from going up and WeederNation working at a track in Maine for the weekend or something like that? How much different do you have to adapt to the business or adapt to the people that
Yeah.
you bring? That's another thing that I don't think we touch on, that customer base of what people expect. And because, let's face it, they're paying you and they expect you to give them something back for that. How different is that?
Oh, and Maine is where I'm from,
Sure.
and that's the hardest place. I have a few accounts up there that treat me like gold,
Sure.
but most people, well, he's not giving us the best. He's not going to do right for us.
Right.
Well, think what you want. And
Right.
then I got a lot of people up there that do believe in me, and they go, "He only flies around and works with the best people in the sport every day of the week.
Right.
His house is 20 minutes from some of the best facilities there is."
Do you, I know you, what do you think the best way for people to kind of go down your path if they want to dabble a little bit? Is it hey, get a couple sets of tires from you, maybe have you come go to a test with them somewhere, this that what's the best way for people? I know you're super busy, so it's pretty much, you know, doing what you can do, meaning for you from a personnel
Right.
standpoint. If somebody is like, man, I saw this on a podcast. I saw Weeder. I'm a late model stock car guy. I don't necessarily know who he is. I've seen him at the racetrack maybe a few times, but I don't know. How does he get into your brand? What does your brand do
He,
for him?
that's a pretty cool question because somebody we both know, Clay Rogers,
Sure, very well.
last year told
Yeah.
Matt Cox, "You need tires done.
Yes,
You use Weeder."
yes,
And Matt's used me ever since. And we shoot information back. And I don't go to the racetrack but him very often. You know, I'm at
right.
a car store race here or
Sure.
there, but we shoot information off each other all the time.
Sure.
And anybody can do that. And the thing is just because we didn't do good one day doesn't mean that it's not going to work down the road.
Right. What's about building a program, right?
Yes, exactly. We have to get better together and get the program headed where it needs to be.
And some of the things, like what can somebody expect? What can the dad of a gentleman that wants to race at Hickory weekly or wants to do this, but he needs some help. He doesn't know all the help, but he needs some help. What do you have things where you set them guys up as a weekly consulting fee, or
I
or
have
they
a
can
few,
do X
but
or that?
we could do that. Biggest thing is if we could just do a test, or even if I have to just go to your shop and work with you and show you what I believe in
Sure.
and see what you've got going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just want people to take advantage of that. I think you are endless. I remember back years ago, I car chief for David Green, our crew chief David Green, in an Xfinity ride, and I remember they brought me this index of papers at our TRD meeting. It was thick. It was like an inch thick. They laid it down in front of me, and I'm like, what in the hell is all this stuff? It was all tire data. And I got lost. I mean, I went back up to my office, and I sat for days and just
right.
absorbed. And I think the problem with this, a lot of people don't even know that exists. They don't know directly correlative how air pressure affects camber gain and how, these things happen, right? And I think that spending some time with you and absorbing some knowledge and getting on some type of a program
Right.
could be really beneficial for the
Biggest
late
thing that got to get through to people is we're all on bump stops now. Not everybody, but
Most everybody. Right?
We have to, stagger is almost irrelevant. We have to keep the heights of our race car.
That's it.
I mean, stagger is a percentage, but if we don't keep the heights of our race car, we're chasing chims that are
All
30,000.
kind of things, right? Like, but
That's
we're
7 sheets of paper, And the biggest thing I can't get through to people is, yeah, you're loading that, but all of a sudden you have 2 pounds of air, and you're loading it harder or less, depending on where you're going. Now you haven't done nothing on the other 3 corners. You can't do that.
That's it.
That's like everybody says. For example, I was at Bristol. We had a certain team that color-coded their wheels, and they had heavy ones on the right and lightweight on, not lightweight, but
Sure,
regular ones on
lighter
the left.
ones. Sure.
It was a couple of day colors, orange and yellow. And being color division, I didn't look at it.
Right.
I messed it up. And I said, well, I'm sorry. Why don't we just part ways? And the dad says, no, we're not parting ways. My stuff has been right ever since you've been here. We had a problem. I will mark all the wheels left and right. He goes, because you know what? You bring the ultimate, you bring things to the table that, he goes, you told us, hey, we've only got 2 1/4, you want 2 1/2, but you do this on your left rear to get our more grip during the race. He goes, we ran 4th that night with the information, and Saga was dead on afterwards because of what you've done.
Sure.
I said, just listen. I said, we do this. This is our job. I
Yeah.
said, you don't have to have it a certain way. We have to end with the right result at the end.
Do you think that now, as a guy that does 200 tires now, we get a chance, thankfully, on Mondays in here. A lot of people, Monday, Tuesdays during racing season, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are usually crazy town around here. So through that, I get a chance to hear a lot of stories. And I hear a lot of stories about the most one that I consistently hear is, I just got bad tires. I just got bad tires. And I love that one because I then ask, what makes a bad tire? Now, I've seen a lot of tires. I saw some delamination, right? I've seen lots of crazy things in my
Right.
time, which we all have, right? But what I somehow want the person running the program or doing, how many really bad tires do you see?
Not many.
Not many.
And the biggest problem with bad tires is where they laminate. The center is out around, and you can see that if you put an edge to it, and that's the biggest problem we've had. But now, I don't know if you can call it a bad tire, but if you get a green tire, you could have issues. We did this a few years ago at the Senators Cup with Jeremy Doss. It was the year we were supposed to run Richmond in the fall, and we didn't run. I flew out there at the last minute, and they have a system so that if you're not on the pre-list, you can't go in and buy tires in the morning. Well, Mike Doss went in and bought them, and he had picked the right sides all out, and I walked in, he goes, "How'd you get in here?" I said, "Don't ask."
Right. Grandfather.
So,
did.
thanks, Chris Klein. But anyways, we get in there. That night, we put the tires on. We go 3/10 quicker we had, but 16 laps later, we're junk. I take a picture of the code, I send it to somebody, the tire was 10 days old. The next morning, I swap out all the right sides, get the code that I know that I've raced before.
Right.
We only qualify fifth, but we win the race.
Right.
15 grand in his pocket. And Brandon Ernest slaps me on the back and goes, "Someday you'll earn your money, buddy." I go, "Okay."
So much of your data collection has come through just sheer volume and through working the brands on the backsides, right? Like you're the guy that picks the tires up, takes them home. You came here with your box fan many times and grabbed sets of rims, mounted, returned. How do you gather a lot of the information? I think have you just had to do it the old-fashioned way, just through collecting the data
Yes.
yourself? Is there information that that Hoosier, that McCreary or American Racing Tire, depending on where you're at, is there information that they give out that people just don't utilize?
Yes,
Or you just
that's if you ask the right questions, you get the right answers, and that's what Iris will tell you. Chad, their engineer, Jeff Freeman. Why does Weeder know everything? Because he asks all the questions.
Sure.
He does not let any stones. He'll go and say, "What are we going to have to use at that weekend? What sizes? How old do you know they are? Do you know how old they are?" And
are you able to find that you get most of your questions answered that way?
yes,
Yes.
and it's really cool that
So what I find interesting about that, I just want to bring up to the people here, is that not any of those people that you mentioned own a racetrack,
right.
right? So I find this to be something that completely blows my mind. It happens every week, is that everybody wants to be mad at the guy that owns the racetrack because he sold them bad tires, and they did. So this is something that I really want to clear up, and I've been looking for these reasons to say some of these things, and I think this is great. Don't be mad at Tri-County or Hickory or Caraway or whatever. A lot of times it's truly, I haven't heard him say one racetrack yet that he didn't call Caraway and ask about date codes, right?
Right.
So go to the people that are manufacturing the tires. Go to Iris or go to Freeman, right? Like go to
I
these
was at
people.
Freeman's a while ago, and the guy called and says, "Hey, Jeff, this guy from Wisconsin wants to know what are the best date codes." I picked the phone up and I said, "Figure it out, buddy. We
Right.
all have to."
Right.
And that probably wasn't the right thing to do, and Jeff gets on the phone and he goes, "He just told you," and he goes, "How's he know them all?" He goes and with his durometer and his tape measure and figures out what he needs to figure out.
Is that the super late model deal seems to be just by being able to play in both sides of it, I get to see the pros and the cons to the late model stock car side of things. And one thing that I found extremely interesting is most late model stock car deals, they buy all their race tires at the racetracks
Yes.
themselves. But the super world is not necessarily that way.
We we use a lot more tires, and how do I say this without
No,
a
you
lot of
don't
the
have to
late
say
model
it.
stock teams believe they got the answers.
Right,
Those guys that are spending the $250,000 to $1 million a year for their Sunday race,
right,
they don't have all the answers. They want to get them,
right. That's right.
and that's the
That's the
difference.
difference.
That's just like with me. If I want my computer fixed, I go to the computer guy.
That's right.
You know? I mean, you have to have all the right people in your circle, and
Right.
that's how you get better.
I agree with that. I always noticed that as an intriguing difference between the two sports was, and I don't mean sports, but between the two divisions was, most late model stock car racers, they go direct to the racetrack and they buy them. They drive here, they drive there, they drive there. And I found it intriguing that the super late model game just wasn't that way. Yes, sometimes you did go to Hickory and buy
Right.
tires, but most oftenly it wasn't. It was Freeman's or somewhere like
Right.
that to get what you needed.
Right.
Is there an advantage to one over the other? It's got to be Freeman's. They're going through more tires, right? There has to be more data when you think.
Yeah. I,
I just worry about the tire. The only thing I worry about from the racetrack perspective, I know on race day they're all the same, right? And you got to buy what you got to buy, and that is what it is. But I get intrigued about this game of the tires is a really big deal. And people don't, a lot of times, I think, take it as the really big deal that it is.
I can speak for Donnie Wilson a few years ago. He got all his tires at Freeman's before we left.
Sure.
And it's the same tires that were down there, but it ended up not being the same batches.
Right,
And things happened, and they weren't the same.
right.
That's why I will move into my house next week, and I'll be at the racetrack for 3 weeks, and I will have my notebook figuring out what we need to have at the end of the day to win the Derby.
And then what's intriguing about our business is they could slide us a new batch of tires down right before the Derby, and they could be completely all different than everything that we had before.
Jeff Freeman, you listening? I'm going to slap you.
No, I know, but right? Like, I mean, that's
No.
what's intriguing about.
But
That's
yes,
one of the
no.
reasons I think you really got to.
If they run out, if they have to, it's just they had to do that at Nashville, and for the pros, they brought in some tires because they didn't have enough of the ones that were the older codes, and a lot of guys bought the new ones and they went fast. Guess what? Some short fat guy kept the ones that were about 4 points harder
Yeah.
for Thorne and Nasty, and guess who was up front at the end?
There you go.
know?
If you were to give some just generalized tips, I mean, for the guy that give us a breakdown of it, just some tips for a dad that maybe that he's doing his tires for Little Billy and Limited over here
Right.
at Hickory. I mean, what are some things you want to walk into at the beginning of your day? Weeder goes in, he looks
Carry a thermometer with you at all times and a tape measure,
at the tool.
because that will tell you where they're at. If they're 70 points or 45, and hey, if they're 45, you're going to be good then, but what are you going to do with your car when you dial it to those that are soft for
Sure.
the next time,
Sure.
you know?
It's about consistency.
It's about having the same constant base to work with all the time. That's the big thing.
So it's tools. Got to have the right tools.
Yes.
Right tools. Right thermometers. Stagger being not as
No, but
crazy
having the
as what it
height
used
of
to
the
be.
tire is.
100%.
And that's like, I can say this, if an 86.5-inch tire is fresh out of the mold, it's going to measure 81 and a half, 81 and 3/4 in the center. We've got stuff right now, because of COVID, nobody else's fault but COVID, we got stuff that measures 80 and a half. It's been sitting since December. And we have to move it around and use it, because you know what? This has
You've got to
happened.
get rid of it, right?
I mean, you can't expect them to throw them away.
Right,
I
right.
mean,
I know in my son's quarter midget game, man, I got so much respect for the tire world in that game. In the cup game, I didn't think it was that bad because we had almost all the information,
Right.
right? There was so much. You weren't running. They gave us a recommended, right? Like they gave so many things. They took a lot of the variables out of it. But as I got into quarter midgets and late models and super late models, and it was amazing to me that it seemed like the less horsepower you had, the more important the tire became. And it was really good for me to go back and to spend a lot of time in a quarter midget setting or in a late model setting, where at that time the late model didn't have a ton of power, not nearly like the super late model.
Right.
So it was really interesting to be able to see the things that we could do. And the other thing that I've really found interesting is since we've gotten motor in late model stock now things have come full circle
Right.
again because now a lot of my super late model stuff that we messed with a couple years ago becomes really relevant
Right.
because from a motor perspective we're close to the same thing. We're not
Right.
weight wise, but we're
Right.
close to the same thing.
Right. That's that's like next week I had a test with a couple of pros down there. This last race at Pensacola was the first time they put a left side tire on 35s. Yeah, we had three of the top five, but at the end of the race, it wasn't doing what we needed. A pro has to roll so much more than a super because
sure.
of the
No motor.
no motor.
That's it.
And that left side tire we're using just sucks the car to the racetrack.
Right.
So how do we? And I got two counts that I've already said they'll buy whatever we need the tires. Do we go taller buy a taller tire and let air out, or smaller tire
Put
and
it
take
in.
more air out?
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a computer attached to it, and we're gonna learn what we
What
can.
we can.
And everybody says, well, you had three at the top. I don't care what we did.
Right.
We got to learn to
Keep
get
going.
better.
Right.
If we're going to go to that tire all the time, you got to be able to roll. Somebody's going to figure out how to roll faster than we are.
That pass deal, that was all about that. Remember that pass deal back then? That was the whole deal. If you could not blister the left rear in that thing because it was so soft, you just had to
Yes.
work and work and work. We won a bunch of races with Grissom in that car that we had built here at Performance Center, and that was like the whole game. If you could not blister, you'd have as much camber as you could, but without blistering the tire and trying to drive it in the earth, right? It was crazy. Crazy how much it seems like we're fighting the same things over and over. He's not on Facebook for a little bit. He's taking a little bit of a break from there, but tell people how they can get you. What's the best way you want people to reach out to you, get a hold of you? Maybe they need some WeederNation help. They need some tire help for the weekend. You want them to call you? You want them
Yeah,
to
call me.
email
Or-
you? You want to, what do you want them
I
to
don't do well with the email game.
All right, so you want them to call you.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that I give out what's your number, Weeder? Give me a number.
704
Yep.
490 0216.
And he might not answer, but leave him a message. He tries to
Yes.
get back to it, but he's always thrashing on something. I
Text me and with your information, then I'll call you back. It'll be a lot easier that way.
there you go.
I already know what's going on. When you text me and tell me what you're thinking about, I can already have a game plan when we talk.
And if you don't have a game plan, Weeder's a great guy. If there's something you want to try to do that he's not doing right now, I think it's a good time. I think a lot of my customer base, this is one of the reasons I really wanted to get you on here, is because a lot of my customer base doesn't take advantage of the information that I think that you can provide to them. And I think that that's a big help and service that you can help these people that may be looking to just raise their program that little
Right.
bit. They don't want to, they can't fly you to here or there or whatever, but they are looking for help. They're looking for advice. They're looking for processes that they
Right.
can use to do their things. And I think that can be a great deal for everybody.
And that's the one thing that they talked about. I don't know if they got it. Was they talked about taking weight off you guys this
Yeah,
year?
they've been talking about that. I was just told the other day by a higher NASCAR official that there was going to be no rule changes for this year due to
Oh,
the COVID.
Take 200 off would be nice.
I agree. It would
Because
be nice.
by doing that, it would just make it so much easier. Last year we had a lot of success with the DGR guys,
Sure.
but I had a problem with the fact that Derek and Clay were getting mad at me. You don't say much on air pressure. Derek, you and your brother Seth have won everything
Every
there is with
race,
late model
right.
stocks. I'm giving you information, working with you, but I can't go out on a limb and say we got to do this
Right.
when we're winning every week and running up front.
Right.
I mean, yeah, we want to get better, but we're not going to shoot ourselves in the foot.
But I
at the
actually
same
think
time.
that's something nice about those guys too. I can't speak on many of the people that you spoke about, but that group of people, since they do have my race cars and we do get a chance to, I don't talk to Clay as much as I do to Derek and Seth per se, but I find it intriguing that those guys are interested for more input and more input and more input. Meanwhile, the guy that I have that wants to call me and tell me how he isn't running good, he doesn't want to ask me for anything. Like he just wants to, he's afraid I'm going to figure out that he's got a 11-degree spindle. What? Like, you're a half a second off. The 11-degree spindle's not getting us there. Like, let's everybody let down their guard, kind of come clean to, it's not a game to, you know more than somebody else, so you're going to beat them. It's about, man, I really want you to run better, and I would love to be beneficial and help you.
Right.
Allow me to do that. That's what I would like to do.
That last week, I was at one of my accounts working, and somebody come in there and said, "Hey, that 51 looked different in Nashville." I said, "Yeah." What were they doing? I said, none your business.
Right.
I said, I don't know for sure. And I said, I do not tell anybody what anybody's doing.
Right.
I do tires. I
Right.
don't do suspension.
Right. And that's what I want. That's what I really wanted late model stock car people to reach out to you, as far as just, I think a lot of people, tires, what I'm learning about late model stock car racing as a whole that is quite a bit different from the super racing is a lot of the technology has seeped into the super racing world. A lot of past people that now there are places that you can go get information, but if you think, and if you think that you're going to go to the people that own Caraway or the people that own Tri-County, Higgins, or that you're going to go to Piercy and you're going to get tire information, they have no more tire information than the dude across the street at the gas station.
Right.
So just know that there is something you can do about it. There is ways you can educate yourself. This is a great way right here. Here's a great tool. Not everybody can afford great tools, but I've known Weeder a long time, and not everything is about you affording Weeder. Weeder is a great guy that gives a lot back to the sport in ways that he has to eat, but I also understand that I've never seen him not turn anybody away, like, just get out of here, don't, I mean, I think he learned all this through just persistence and continuing to dig and dig and dig, and I think
At Nashville a few weeks ago, Gary Santa Monica come up to me, and the first time I worked with him, he goes, "I never get anybody to work with you," and he goes, "The price that you gave us," he goes, "it's stupid." He goes, "At that price, I charged them $100 a set for the weekend." He goes, "You keep texting me information on tires. You come down and you said, 'Hey, give me another 1/4 inches to camber out of the right front. Let's go.'" And he goes, all of a sudden the car turns in the center. He goes, "I can't even begin to think about how cheap that was."
For sure.
He goes, "It cost me $500 a weekend to get somebody to the racetrack, and then I got to teach them what what they got to do." He goes, "And I spent $400 with you, and you brought stuff to the table and explained everything why we're doing things."
And that's just where I think you can make a huge impact in this late model stock. I mean, you already do to a point, kind of outside from behind the scenes. I know you do some things with a few people, but I really think that this show is, the reason that I did it is because I wanted people to get answers. I think if you're a dad in Indiana and you sell pickup trucks, you don't have any way to get information about late model stock car tires, and we've acquired all of our information through work and spending money and time and blah blah blah, and I think that there's other avenues, and I don't want the dad that thinks he's completely beaten to just give up and be beaten. Like, we both been in positions where we didn't have anything, right? Like, you just got to continue to work and work and work and work and work. So I want people to reach out to you and definitely try to see what we can do.
And he said it. I'm here because I love racing.
For sure.
I have to make a living, but I'm not rich. Not going to be rich.
Right.
Well, not rich as far as dollars and cents, but you know what? Got a lot of memories.
That's it, man.
I'm at 56 years old. I already got more memories than most people ever dreamed to have.
That's awesome.
And that's what people, like
it.
I said earlier, we drove all night to play in a golf tournament, and I turned around and drove back. You know what? We had fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
And I'll be on a podcast tonight that the guy says, "You're crazy." Yeah, what's your point?
Yeah.
We know this.
I think we're all a little bit crazy, right? That's how we get here.
But when you do what you love, and we've got to be careful right now because with all the things going on out in the world, there's certain people that don't want us to race.
Right.
And we've got one of those people in NASCAR now because we were stupid and let him get in there, and there's a lot of problems going to happen.
Yeah.
And we need to stick together. That's like, I'll tell you a quick story. Last night I was driving down the road to go dismount tires, see a car. I went back and helped them change the tire. The guy says, "Why'd you stop?" I said, "Well, 20 years ago, somebody stopped and helped me one night.
it.
Took us an hour and a half because my truck had never had the tire taken out of it from underneath and had all the salt from Maine and everything else. Took us an hour and a half, and he helped me. We have to work together, people, at everything we can do. No, we don't have to be best buddies.
Right.
Respect each other and do a good job at what you do. And that's all it takes. I said, yeah, a lot of people ain't going to like me because,
Right.
like he said, I speak up and I tell you how I believe. And all my guys that work for me say, yeah, he gets pretty antsy at times because when I believe in something and you're not listening, it gets hard for me. I do this all the time. And no, I don't have all the answers, but we can get this.
Right. I really think what I learned is when I get mad, it's most of the time that I'm just so disappointed. I'm not really upset with anybody
Yes.
at all. I'm just so disappointed that I'm not able to communicate exactly with you. I've seen it 99 of 100 times pop up this way. If
Right.
you'll just listen that I've seen it, I can save you. You know what? You might be that 1%.
Right.
But the odds of you being it is probably a lot more in the other
I went
direction.
back to school when I was older to be a machinist. The first day I walked in there, Fred Donovan, the instructor, says, there's 26 of you here. At the end of this class, all of you going to agree on one answer. Because out in the real world, you got to believe in everybody around you.
That's it.
And you know something? That's made me a lot better person because I
understand.
remember that every day of the week.
Understand. Man, I thank you so much for coming by, Weeder.
Glad to be here.
That's gonna wrap it up. Weeder's great. If you need anything, he'll be back on social media in a little while. You wait and see. I've seen this before, but man, thanks for tuning into another episode. As you can see, the guys are building some cars back here. It's just past the Ace Speedway's Rodney Cook Classic just happened. Big shout out to the winners everywhere this last weekend. We're gonna keep building cars. I think we're down to 4 behind now. Got some clips coming in tomorrow. 2 clips, 1 big spring, 1 coilover clip coming in tomorrow. So we've gone into the fall, gone into our build season and new car builds. If there's anything we could do for you, feel free to reach out to us. Please reach out to Weeder. We'll once again put his number and stuff down at the bottom so that we can go ahead and you can grab him. And man, thanks. Let us know what we can help. Appreciate every one of you.